Hello folks. I'll try and keep this video short, concise and to the point, as there's lots of things that I could probably add to this and it could easily spiral into a super long project. Today we're going to be talking about Edinburgh's Christmas markets and Hogmanay celebrations. However, before we get to that, can we please spare a moment to think about the retail and service workers during this time, who have to suffer the daily stream of soul-sucking nonsense that Christmas shoppers inflict on them both pre and post-Christmas, all while having awful Christmas song covers blasted at them. Whether that's the horrible last-minute shoppers frustrated at their own lack of preparedness and then taken out on staff, or the psychotic vultures who forgo sitting on their arse and enjoying Boxing Day to instead descend upon Boxing Day sales after staff have probably had a less than enjoyable Christmas because they're being forced to work tomorrow, service and retail workers are overworked, can receive retaliation from their companies for being sick, and some are under the constant stress of inflated sales targets that the Christmas period brings. I've lived in Edinburgh for a good couple of years, and I've worked in retail during the Fringe Festival, which is one of the world's largest cultural festivals, and as well as Edinburgh's festive season, where we've seen the growth of the sickeningly commercial Christmas markets. And it's quite possible to simply write me off here as sounding like Scrooge, right? And I accept that I do harbour some bias, and I'm still pretty jaded from the Christmases I worked in retail. Nothing like being called a fucking idiot by an angry customer because we didn't have the right size of coat in stock on the 24th of December. I'll put that down as character building or something. However, whether we're the worker or the consumer, aren't we all really just victims of the most aggressive advertising campaign in the world? It's been so expertly crafted by now that we've got a specific time in the year that people feel absolutely compelled to spend more. People even get paid earlier so they can wander to the shitty pop-up bar at the Christmas markets that charges £12 for 2 cups of mulled wine, and we just hand it right back to them. Like the factory lines that make all of our crap, we've been sold a dummy, and we pretend this season is all about giving, when in reality, it's all about spending. Yes, I am almost definitely the first person to ever think this, and I'm a true revolutionary. Maybe it was my childhood naivety. Or maybe Christmas was genuinely different in the early 2000s. But even though I haven't worked in retail for a couple of years, I can honestly say this time of year brings out the worst of humanity. And speaking of the worst of humanity, let's talk about corporations sucking the soul out of everything in Edinburgh. More specifically, Edinburgh's Underbelly. Underbelly Limited defines itself as a UK-based live entertainment company. They are one of the companies responsible for keeping Edinburgh in a state of constant festival, as they operate during the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, as well as operating Edinburgh's Christmas markets and the Hogmanay event. Now, I could probably do several videos on the Fringe alone, so we'll leave that out for today and focus on the festive season. But the way it works is that Edinburgh starts preparing for the Fringe months before it actually starts, as you'd expect with an international festival. Then, once August is over and the festival comes to an end, there's a transition period back into normal Edinburgh, which normally takes about a month. However, by October, Edinburgh's then gearing up for the Christmas markets, which take place in the Princes Street Gardens. However, I now think that they actually leak across Princes Street and have a few pop-up stalls elsewhere. The Edinburgh Christmas markets transform Princes Street Gardens from this to this, a scaffolding hellscape. This massive operation happens every October in preparation for the Christmas markets. Edinburgh residents and tourists rarely get to enjoy the Princes Street Gardens as they actually are. Underbelly has been under fire this year already for disrespecting memorial benches, which they'd cleared to make way for this festive abomination. We can all agree that even if these benches had to be moved temporarily, it's still pretty disrespectful to just leave them in a heap like that. There had also been an uproar last year when 50 trees were chopped down in Princes Street. Now, this was supposedly part of the National Gallery accessibility project and they were building accessible wheelchair ramps and stuff like that. However, this was tarred with claims that it was specifically for commercial purposes when Underbelly suddenly had a lot more space to put Christmas market stalls. Stuff like this is just some example of the sort of ongoing battle between the people of Edinburgh and Underbelly. And that's before we even get to the questionable safety standards of this year, with, you'll see in the photo, scaffolding balancing on wooden blocks, and there's also been some cases of construction health and safety being completely disregarded. Just so we're all on the same page with what we're looking at here, This is a construction team setting up one of the stalls at the Christmas market, and the guy's got a drill in hand trying to attach a poster onto the outside, and he's balancing on a wooden block which is also balancing on a spiked fence. That is almost a Darwin Award winner right there. And this brings us to Hogmanay 2019, which has already shown the depths that Underbelly will plunge to. Again, for a bit of background, Underbelly essentially fences off a section of Edinburgh and charges a fee if you'd like to enter what they deem the street party arena. If you'd like to attend the street party, then the price is £31.50 per head, including £1 in fees. And all you'll get is claustrophobia and one free cocktail, which you'll then have to supplement with overpriced drink because you're not allowed to bring any of your own in. However, if you'd like to also attend their Ceilidh Under the Castle event and then the street party event, you'll need to buy two separate tickets for a total of £101.50 when you factor in the £5 booking fee for the Ceilidh Under the Castle. Now, sure, they're a business. They put on a show and they put on events, and concert tickets are often pricier than what they're charging. And maybe I'm just not their target demographic. However, there's a problem when it comes to sectioning off a sizable portion of Edinburgh with both ticket checks and security. What happens to the people who live and work there? Twitter user Angus Duncan posted a thread about how Underbelly are making residents apply for permission to access their own homes and that they'll need to pass a police check before Underbelly grants them their residence passes. Angus rightfully points out that when you jump onto the Underbelly website, you have to do a bit of digging before you get to the page where they detail how residents will actually be able to access their homes. Angus says, "Good luck trying to find this very important page on their website. Follow the Cow," that's Underbelly's Twitter name, has buried this. From the homepage you need to click on Information, then Explore, and then Your Access. And there's nothing to indicate that's the page residents should go to until we actually get to the page. We'll dig a little further into the detail here, and Underbelly have outlined what the passes are for. And this map here also outlines what Underbelly have ominously named the Arena, and it's quite a large section of Edinburgh. So residents have to apply to Underbelly for passes, which will grant them access to what they call access lanes. And they say that access passes are not street party event tickets and do not permit direct access to event arenas. They are strictly to allow access to properties within the controlled zone. All accredited residents and businesses must wear a valid wristband and carry their access pass at all times. All access passes will detail the address of the property to which the holder is entitled to access and the location of the closest perimeter gate through which pass holders should enter/exit the controlled zone. All perimeter gates will have signage on the outside of the gate detailing which properties can be accessed at that point to make it clear for residents, customers and security staff manning the gates. We will also include business logos on this signage where appropriate. Passes will permit the holder to use the access lanes between the designated gate and their property only. These lanes are for access only and are also used by security and the emergency services during the event. They are not viewing areas and there should be no loitering at any time. So that's what an access pass is, but how do we go about getting one? Here's what Underbelly say about applying for a pass. Once the type of access has been identified, residents and businesses should complete the relevant sections of the application form detailing their requirements. If the number of tickets requested needs further consultation, Underbelly's Business and Resident Liaison Officer will contact the applicant. All details will be verified before access passes are issued. These details will be shared with Scottish Fire and Rescue and Police Scotland for safety and licensing purposes. Applicants will be asked to provide their full residential or business address. If this is out with the controlled zone, access passes will not be issued. A map will be available on the website showing the street party controlled zone. So if you fancy having a private Hogmanay party within your own home within Underbelly's arena, then good luck to you, because there's only 6 passes available per residence, and all of which apparently have to be shared with Police Scotland. And if you'd like anyone else, you need to go through an additional process where your property is assessed by Scottish Fire and Rescue and event organisers to determine how many people should be allowed at your own party. What's worse is that Underbelly aren't even informing residents that they need to apply for passes. According to Twitter user Alan S., a friend of his has not received any indication from Underbelly that she'll be required to have a pass. And this is the perfect example of corporate laziness. It should be on Underbelly to sort this out, not to expect residents to apply. Underbelly Limited's branding revolves around a cow with funny wee lines like Udderbelly in their giant pop-up stage upside down cow. In reality, it should really just be a giant dystopian octopus choking the life out of everything that it touches. Edinburgh cannot continue like this. People and residents have just had enough. Right. That was probably not the festive video that you were expecting, and I really am sorry about that. Please enjoy Hogmanay with your family and friends. You absolutely do not need to snort a big pile of hyper-commercialised rubbish to bring in the new year. There are some unbelievably fantastic ceilidhs that are held in town halls up and down Scotland, and I promise that my next video will be a bit more positive. But after reading Angus's thread and being a resident of Edinburgh myself, this just sent me off on one. And I didn't even touch on Airbnb. This has been a shorter video, but if you enjoyed this rant, then you might fancy watching my longer video, which is the Defence of Scottish Gaelic. For those going to ceilidhs and ending the night with a signature Loch Lomond recital, my video will teach you the Gaelic lyrics, and you will look an absolute champion. I'd also like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters, so that's Lego 2x4, Dylan Aitken, Catriona MacDonald, Fitz Amisov, Misty Jones, Jeanette Patterson RN, and Suzanne Brown. And if you'd like to join the list and support me in making more videos, then check out my Patreon in the description below. Despite the rage against the machine in this video, I really do hope you have a fantastic holiday period and a happy new year when it comes. Have a good one, folks. See you in the next one.